Welcome back, true believers and spectacular Spidey fans, to another really exciting episode of Spider-Man PS4 101. So after playing through Turf Wars a few times, I did manage to find even more Easter eggs that Insomniac have indeed put in within the overall world of Spider-Man PS4. And in case you didn't know, there are indeed new Easter eggs that have been added to the game, just like there were for the heist that came back out in October. And in case you missed those Easter eggs, I will leave a link to that video that I did a while ago in the description below, so you can go check it out for yourselves, and the other Easter eggs that were added within the heist DLC. But now, with the second chapter of the City That Never Sleeps DLC pack finally released of Turf Wars, there are indeed brand new eggs finally revealed within the overall world of Marvel's New York. And in order to find these Easter eggs, you do have to manually select the Turf Wars DLC within the DLC menu and then locate them throughout the city. If you do try to find these Easter eggs in the main game, they will indeed not appear, so please keep that in mind. So the first Easter egg is an extremely obvious one, and that is of course the replacement of car wrecks scattered throughout New York City with the inclusion of the Dig Boys. So as we see throughout the Turf Wars story, Sable International has brand new equipment which allows her troops to infiltrate areas through the underground. Although instead of Sable's troops actually using this equipment themselves, Hammerhead's goons have actually armed themselves with it to take out all of the Maggia crime families. And during Turf Wars' narrative, as well as after you complete the DLC, you will see construction workers trying their best to get the Dig Boys out of the New York streets. So even though this isn't a major Easter egg, it still is really cool that Insomniac added that small inclusion of the Dig Boys in the overall world of Marvel's New York. Now, moving on to a few Easter eggs that relate to the overall outcome of the Turf Wars story, it does in fact relate to the brand new newspapers that you can find in the Daily Bugle newsstands scattered throughout New York City. Now, in order to understand these Easter eggs, you do have to look at the newspapers a bit more intently, as well as understand where these stories could be heading within the potential sequel or the upcoming DLC of Silver Lining. But out of all the new newspapers that you can find in Turf Wars, there's mainly three that I do want to take a closer look at. So the first newspaper, with the headline of Funny Money, has an Easter egg relating to Roxxon Corporation in the bottom right of the paper. Now, Roxxon Industries has already been featured in the main game of Marvel's Spider-Man, but the reason why this one is really important is because it says Roxxon Resurgent. And if you've played through the entirety of Spider-Man PS4's story, you'll know why this is pretty important. Following up on the travesty that took place at Oscorp Industries with the Martin Lee incident, as well as Spider-Man and Doc Ock fighting at the top of the Oscorp Tower, as well as the downfall of Octavius Industries with the overall company shutting down, I do think that Roxxon may have a role in the potential sequel. With Norman Osborn using all of his resources to make sure that his son Harry is being taken care of, as well as Otto being fully imprisoned within the raft, there is a high chance that another big-time high-tech corporation like Roxxon could indeed take charge within the future of this game's story. Whether that might be featured within the upcoming DLC of Silver Lining or an inevitable sequel, that is still up for debate, but we'll just have to wait and see. As for another newspaper that highly relates to the upcoming DLC of Silver Lining, is this one with the headline of Bar No More. And once again, if you look at the bottom right hand corner of this newspaper, you will see a section titled Where's Sable? And obviously it would make sense that with all this destruction going on throughout New York City with the use of Sable International's equipment, you would think that the leader of that organization would come in, take charge, and get her equipment back. Which once again leads to the highly likely assumption that she will indeed be the main character to be featured within Silver Lining. And once again, my thoughts are that there is going to be a plot point where Spider-Man and Silver Sable team up to get her equipment back while facing off against a bigger threat. Whether that might be another head leader of the Maggia crime family, or maybe Silvermane himself, since he does relate to Silver Sable in some interpretations of the character, we'll still just have to wait and see, but I'm really excited to see where that could lead. And mainly regarding the most important newspaper out of the bunch is one relating to Captain Yuri Watanabe titled Out of Control, Watanabe Goes Rogue. Now, if it wasn't already obvious as to where Insomniac was taking Yuri's character, it's more than likely that either at some point in the upcoming DLC or a potential sequel, she will in fact turn into the anti-hero known as Wraith. And in case you don't know a lot about who the Wraith is as a character, I did do a video a long time ago breaking down everything you need to know about her character and how she could be implemented within Spider-Man PS4. But if you do know who the Wraith is as a character, you would know that Insomniac are changing up her origin quite a bit from how it is in the comics. Usually in the comics, Yuri has a pretty big beef with one of the main villains of Spider-Man PS4 actually being Mr. Negative. And after losing quite a bit of her men on the job, just like she does in this DLC of Turf Wars, she actually quits being an honest cop and starts becoming the Wraith. However, this time around, instead of focusing on Mr. Negative and the inner demons, her story actually revolves around the Maggia crime family and Hammerhead specifically. If you did manage to defeat all of Hammerhead's bases, you would know that Yuri's family actually has a history with the Maggia crime family, specifically with her father. And seeing how her father was an extremely dirty cop, Yuri has done her best to try and redeem herself and her family name. And seeing how this newspaper is highly teasing that Yuri is going to stop being the good, honest cop that we all know and love and start being more ruthless like her Wraith persona, I'm really excited to see how that's going to go down within this game's universe. But moving on from the most interesting newspapers of this DLC, I'm actually going to be discussing two particular Easter eggs that you still can find within the heist, but are more prominent now within Turf Wars. So one of the biggest changes that you can find throughout the entirety of Marvel's New York is that Fisk Tower is now actually for lease. Now, as I said, you can find this Easter egg within the heist, but given that this particular DLC relates to a lot of big mob bosses, it would only make sense to bring this one up since it highly relates to Kingpin. As for what lies for the future of this building, since it is for lease, there is a high chance that it could turn into another big Marvel landmark, either relating to crime families or something more. And given what a great opening mission Spider-Man PS4 had with actually infiltrating this huge building, I'm really excited to see where the future of this building is going to lead into. Now, there is another prominent building that you can find throughout Marvel's New York that some people are claiming has increased in size, but for me, when I checked, I didn't see any change whatsoever. However, if you are personally invested to check out this possible Easter egg yourself, I will say go check out the Horizon Labs building near the east side of the financial district. Even though I didn't notice a massive change, people are claiming that the Horizon Labs building is actually a bit taller than what it was previously. So whether or not this means that Horizon Labs could be the next place of employment for Peter Parker or just a little nod to the overall expansion of Marvel's New York, we still don't know for sure, but I'm really excited to see the possible change of this building in the future. Now, moving on to the second to last Easter egg is actually one that's more personal since it relates highly to one specific Insomniac developer in general of Gil Doran. Now, if you don't know, Gil is the user face slash user experience lead at Insomniac Games, and if you checked at one of the Hammerhead bases, you will see his name be featured inside of it. Now, if you have beaten Spider-Man PS4, you would know that there are several name drops to a bunch of Insomniac and Marvel employees scattered throughout the entirety of the game. This can range from Bill Roseman, Gavin Goulden, Ted Price, and more, and now we have another awesome one of Gil Doran. And seeing how Gil's position at Insomniac Games is really important for the overall development of Spider-Man PS4, it's great that he was acknowledged within this Hammerhead base. So if you ever feel like beating up on some goons in Turf Wars, make sure you stop by that Hammerhead base and say hi to Gil. Now, as for the final Easter egg that I could personally find within Turf Wars is one that's extremely out of the ordinary and very important to the future of the DLC. So if you do go to the bottom left-hand corner of Midtown within Marvel's New York and find a store with a blue awning outside, you will find something really interesting inside of the store. Now, even though you can't enter this building directly, if you do go to the entrance of it and press R3 to activate your AR scanner, you will see a really weird glowing flashing golden statue slash mannequin inside the store. Now, as for what this Easter egg could mean, I have absolutely no idea, and as to what it could mean for the future, I do think this might be a location that we will enter within Silver Lining. Seeing how the Manhattan Museum of Contemporary Art and the Bar with No Name were slightly changed for the heist and Turf Wars, I do think that this is a very high chance that we could enter this building within Silver Lining. Whether or not this means that we could possibly be fighting some bad guys within this building or trying to stealthily sneak inside of it, I still have no idea, but I'm really curious to see what this possible golden mannequin could mean. But as for what this golden statue could possibly be, I'll just leave it up to all of you to decide for yourselves. And with all that out of the way, guys, that's the video that I have for you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. What did you think about all the Easter eggs that were featured within Turf Wars, and if I did leave any out, please let me know and feel free to share in the comments section down below. Overall, I'm really excited to see the evolution of Yuri Watanabe within this game's universe, possibly turning into the Wraith, but I'm more curious about that weird golden statue within that store. And in the end, seeing how fun Turf Wars was from a gameplay standpoint, I'm really excited to see the overall outcome of Silver Lining to conclude the City That Never Sleeps DLC pack. But anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.
I said it before, and I'll say it again. Don't mess with the big dogs.